Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Caregiver and Spoonie podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Banderas. And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe and so you don't miss any episodes of the podcast. And once again, thank you for all your emails, your support, your comments. I really like them. You can always follow us on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. And also, like I mentioned before, if you want to share your story anonymously, you can send it to me at thecaregiverandspoony@gmail.com. I know I have shared I think one story so far, but there are so many. And I've been talking to you back and forth on the email, so I really appreciate that. But let's get into today's episode. Now, I wanted to talk about how we suppress our feelings and what that actually is causing to us in this case. The reason why I wanted to talk about that is because that's something that pretty much caused me to have PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, and I'm going to explain a little bit more about it either on this episode or throughout the episodes, and I also have talked about it in the blog, which is on YouTube if you want to listen to it as well. But what I wanted to read about real quick, this is some information that I found while I was doing some research. It says the American Psychological Association reports that Americans today, compared to the 1950s, seem less happy, even though we eat out twice as much and own 2 times as many cars. We have so many more toys, like big screen TVs, smartphones, and microwaves, but that isn't leading to a more satisfying life. Now, the reason why this is happening, and this is pretty much what was happening to me, that's why I ended up going to therapy, because I felt like I wasn't having a satisfying life. I didn't have a happy life. I'm gonna admit, I didn't have a happy life. And then once I got the diagnosis with the PTSD and everything, I realized that the reason why that happened is because, at least in my experience, is because we suppress our feelings. And this happens from childhood. It doesn't happen, it happens all the time. We do it to ourselves, but this is how we've been wired since childhood. Like, I don't know if you remember, but for example, in my experience, and I've seen it and it happened to me, like, for example, if you're a kid and you're sad and your parents ask you, like, why are you sad? You're like, well, or they ask you, what's going on? You're like, I'm sad. What does your parent will say? They will say, oh, don't be sad, you have your toys, you have me, you have this. But the kid never gets hurt. Parents don't let their kids explain why or why they're sad or why they're feeling a certain way, and they just shut it down. It's like, oh, you shouldn't feel that way. Or, for example, I've seen it even with grown-ups now. I know this person that we were at their house, and she said, like, oh, I don't feel good. I feel angry. That's what she said. I feel angry because things were going on in her life and whatever. And her mom says, you shouldn't feel angry. The reason why, and I'll tell you why. I was just looking like, oh, this isn't going to be good. So the mom says, like, you shouldn't be angry because you have a house, you have health, you have all of this. So don't feel angry. You just need to suck it up. That's pretty much what the mom said to a grown-up. The person is like 35, 36, something like that. So I'm like, wow, this is what happens since childhood. We suppress our feelings. Like our parents, our friends, even ourselves. We tell ourselves not to feel a certain way. Like, you feel sad. Then you ask yourself, why should I feel sad? I have all of these. So what that causes in some situations, and just like what I read, even though we have more stuff, even though we have all these things, we have all this technology, we have all these things that at our disposal, we don't feel happy. And what happens is that when you suppress your feelings, you're gonna try to find better, better feelings in material stuff, because you're not allowed to feel it. You're not allowed to feel a certain way. You're not allowed to feel happy. You're not allowed to do this because you suppress your feelings, and then you decide to buy a very expensive house that you don't even need because you want to feel good about it. Then you buy a very expensive car, and it doesn't matter if it's expensive or not. But the thing is that sometimes you just buy it out of impulse or out of a feeling to feel good, and what that causes is going to cause more stress, because Like in my situation, I got in so much debt that when I was like up to my neck in debt, I was like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done it. Then I feel stress, and obviously that stress causes problems. It causes that all this cortisol in your body will go up, and then obviously can cause problems with your inflammation and things like that. So you have to understand that a lot of things happen when we suppress our feelings. If you suppress your feelings, if you and you don't know exactly what you feel, what you're feeling, what's gonna happen, and this is how I used to react. I would snap. You will snap. Probably you know, especially with men, women too, but for some reason it's more on men that they snap, and because they feel stressed, they can't say that I'm stressed because apparently men are not allowed to feel anything. Like if you feel angry, you're not even able to talk about it. So you suppress that feeling. Something pisses you off, like your child, your wife, your spouse, whatever. Something makes you mad, and then you react to that feeling. You react by exploding and then saying something that you may regret, or doing something that you may regret, which has been happening a lot. We see it on TV. I don't know why, but it keeps happening. And that's because we keep suppressing our feelings. And another thing, when you suppress your feelings, it can cause depression, because you're gonna be like, oh, I shouldn't feel that way. My mom always said that I should be happy, but I feel sad, so this is all on me. So you're gonna feel depressed because of that. And this is why a lot of the times when it comes to depression, your medicine is not working, or your therapy is not working, because you haven't been able to deal with the issue, in this case the main issue, which is suppressing your feelings. We don't even know that we have our feelings suppressed, because it has happened for so long. We have done it since childhood sometimes, so we don't even know that we're doing it. We don't even know that we're doing it. And that's the worst part, because when somebody tells you, like for example, if you decide to go to therapy, like this is what happened to me. Like when I went to therapy, the therapist was so like, oh, we need to talk about how you feel, and I'm like, I feel good, I'm okay, I'm this, I'm that, like just like that. And a lot of people that do that is like, how are you feeling? They're like, I'm good, and then they're crying. It's like, are you sure you're okay? Yeah, I'm good. And then they go home, and unfortunately they're depressed, but they don't want to talk about it, because they don't want to either feel like a burden, or they feel bad inside because they've been told, or they have told themselves that they shouldn't feel that way, so they suppress those feelings. And that's one of the issues that I think, so as a society we're having, and we're not helping each other. We're actually helping to suppress the feelings more. It's like, oh, you feel harassed, well, don't dress that way. Or you feel oppressed, well, you have all this freedom. It's like, let them feel. Because if you don't let that person feel the way that they're feeling, if you're trying to suppress those feelings, you're not you're not helping them. You're not giving them a service. You're giving them a disservice. And a lot of doctors do that. I never realized that until I pay attention to one of my wife's doctors, where my wife has migraines. And the doctor is all like, well, you shouldn't have migraines with your medicine. And I'm like, but the medicine, just because she's taking medicine, that doesn't mean that it's going to work and stop all the migraines. So it's just like that. Like, I don't know why that happens. So it is crazy. And then obviously when you go see a doctor and your doctor tells you that, what you gonna feel like? You're gonna feel like, oh my gosh, this doctor, somebody that is supposed to help me, somebody that is actually or that has gone to school, that supposedly knows about the issue that I'm facing, is telling me that I shouldn't feel this way. So maybe I'm making it up in my head. You're gonna feel a certain way, but it's up to you to understand that that's not the case. It's not the case. And the reason why I say it's not the case is because you can feel however you feel. You have the freedom to feel. And when somebody tries to suppress you, don't let them. Or just let them talk and just be like, I know my truth. I know how I feel. And I know. I'm sorry, I didn't want to go on a tangent. So just say that I know my truth. I know how I feel. This is how I feel, and I'm going to figure out why. Don't suppress the feeling. Don't just because you feel sad. Just don't be like, oh, I'm going to take a pill to make me happy. The pill is not going to make you happy all the time, because what happens is that the pill is just going to help you if there's a chemical issue, a chemical imbalance in your brain. That's how it's going to work. If it's an emotional imbalance, listen to the difference. Emotional imbalance, then it's going to get to the point where the medicine is not going to work. I've seen it. That's why I never took pills for depression or anything like that. And if you do, there's nothing wrong with that. If it's helping you, great. Keep taking them. If you don't see any changes, like if you don't see that it's helping you, maybe you might have to reevaluate as to either the medicine is the right thing, or you might have to go a different route, because it could be emotional. It could be something that you're eating, because I had just posted this the other day on the Facebook page. 70% of our serotonin is created through the gut. So sometimes, depending on what you eat, that's going to actually affect you too. And that's why sometimes a lot of people, I have talked to a few people, and I have done the research about what doctors say about this, is like, if you eat like crap, your serotonin is not being created in your gut because of the crap that you're eating, then you're gonna feel depressed. You're gonna have certain emotions. You're gonna be angry. You're gonna be like out of control, but you don't even know why those feelings are happening. Even though you try to feel to see where they're coming from, you might not be able to know, because it's coming from your gut. So we have to look at every single scenario in this case. It could be an emotional imbalance, which the emotional imbalance is pretty much caused by the suppression of our feelings. It could be a chemical imbalance, which it happens. That's something that can be fixed with medicine or certain things that are out there. And like I said, if you need to take your pills, take them. Like I tell my wife, is like, in this case, if it's helping you, take them. If it's not helping you, just reevaluate what you need to do next. Talk to your doctor. Say like, hey, this isn't working. If you have to go to therapy, there's nothing wrong with that. And that way you can talk about your feelings. And guess what? Nobody has to know why you're going to therapy. Nobody has to know that you're even going to therapy. That's the best part about it. Nobody has to know. So you can just go, and nobody will have to ever know. That's the thing about this. Just go if you need to. Same with it when taking antidepressants, if you need to, and if it helps you, good. Keep taking them. Never stop without consulting your doctor. But what I'm talking about in this episode is how emotional suppression can cause depression, and it also can cause anxiety. And the way that it causes anxiety is because it's like, oh my gosh, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to feel that way. If this happens, I know that it's gonna make me feel that way, but that feeling is bad. So what am I supposed to do? So you're gonna get anxious. Like, a lot of people don't like losing, because according to everybody, or according to a lot of people, you're supposed to be perfect. Sometimes it's coming from your family, sometimes it's coming from external sources. So when you feel like that, it's bad for you. You're not able to enjoy life, because like in this example that I was giving, that you don't want to feel like you're losing, or you don't want to feel like a loser. You don't want to make your family feel bad or anything like that because you lost, or you didn't get the good grades. Well, it will happen, but just remember that just because your parents or somebody tells you that you're supposed to be good, that doesn't mean that you have to suffer if you lose. You just have to learn how to deal with it, because it's an emotion. So you just have to learn how to deal with your emotions. And there's a lot of people out there like that need emotional help. It's not even something that medicine will fix. It's emotional. So just remember that if you feel like your emotions are out of control, it's because probably they've been suppressed for so long, and now they just want to come out. And unfortunately, it's like a tsunami. And when that happens, you're gonna feel like out of control. But there are ways to handle it. There are ways to deal with it. One is talking about it. You can go to therapy. You can talk to a friend about it. You can just write down how you're feeling and then figure out why you're feeling that way. There are ways, and you can always search online to see what will be the best way to deal with your emotions if they're out of control. But that's pretty much what I have all for today. I hope you guys are enjoying the episodes. Thank you for for your feedback, your support. Don't forget to subscribe. You can follow us always on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and as always, if you want to share your story, don't forget to send it to me at thecaregiverandspoony@gmail.com. You can post it on Facebook as well, on our page or on our community. And remember, there's no judgment. And also, as always, I leave you with this: always take care of yourself.